it seems that the continuation of the MCC compact largely depends on the outcome of the tripartite committee, the work of the tripartite committee. What do you want to see at the end of the day that will speedily or speed up or restart the negotiation or the development of the MCC compact?
So from the United States view, what we're hoping is that the Electoral Review Commission will put out a comprehensive report that looks at two areas. First, legislative and constitutional changes that are necessary to ensure that the various deficiencies that were identified in the 2023 elections, the 2018 elections, the 2012 elections do not repeat themselves. And secondly, we're hoping that the committee will make recommendations as to how the government moves forward with accountability for the incidents that took place during the 2023 elections. So assuming we see a report that addresses those two issues and that the government then moves forward with implementing the recommendations from that report, which of course will involve the full parliamentary opposition as well, then we will be in a very good place to move forward with signing the MCC compact.
The US through the USAID funded implementation of the Electoral Reform Committee, and June they are wrapping up. What is your impression so far with the work of the committee?
So the committee members have taken their work very seriously. I've had the opportunity to meet with them individually and as groups at various points during the process. Every one of them is committed to doing the right thing for this country. They may have disagreements as to the exact specifics of what legislation should say, but I am convinced we have a group of men and women on that committee who are true patriots, who want to do what's right for Sierra Leone, who want to do what's right for the long-term development of this country's democratic institutions. I think they've done a very good job at setting aside partisanship, of putting country ahead of political party, and of looking at what's really going to be best for the Sierra Leonean people. So I am quite confident that with the support they're receiving, not just from USAID, but from a range of international donors and technical agencies, they will be well positioned to provide a solid report to His Excellency the President.
Just last week, the tripartite committee team members, including the 2023 flag bearer for the opposition, Dr. Samuel Kama, and also the co-chair for the opposition, Dr. Kaifala Mara, were to meet with the president, but due to certain reasons, they did not meet. They have been updating different sectors. They were to update the president. You funded the tripartite committee's work. Have they updated you or briefed you about what they've done so far?
So the UN resident coordinator, who is one of the tripartite chairs and represents the donor community on the committee, has provided us with regular updates on the committee's work. We've also had the opportunity, I've said, to meet individually and in groups with various members of the committee as part of our ongoing diplomatic engagement. So I feel we've gotten very well briefed as to what the committee is working on, what their concerns are, what their challenges are, and how they're moving forward. It's very, very tragic that the younger sister of Dr. Kamara passed away last week. And my condolences to him and his family, and that of course delayed necessarily the meeting with the President of the Republic. My hope is that that will be rescheduled once the mourning period for Dr. Kamara's sister has passed, and we'll be able to see the President of the Republic get a direct briefing from members of the committee on their work.
You made mention of some of the things that you would like to see in the work of the tripartite committee, or the recommendation that will give urge to the US government to restart the compact development. In the briefing that they've given you, are these things visible in this briefing?
Yes, I think that much of the work of the committee has centered around those two issues: the question of legislative and constitutional reform and the question of accountability. So I'm confident that the recommendations coming out of the committee will address both of those areas. I want to be very clear that the United States is not taking a position as to what the solution should be. Those are for Sierra Leoneans to decide. The committee needs to make those recommendations. They need to make them in a Sierra Leonean context. And we're not saying that any specific change needs to be included there. What we're going to be looking at is the totality of the report, and hopefully see it address those two sides of the coin.
So as you said, the outcome of these tripartite recommendations, all the meetings largely depend on the MCC grant, availability to Sierra Leone. At this point, are you totally satisfied?
Well, I haven't seen the final report yet, so until I see the final report and its implementation, I can't say that I'm going to be totally satisfied.
With what is going on presently, the meetings, the bottlenecks.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic. And the reason I'm very optimistic is that the leadership of both the government and the opposition have been very clear that they want to see this be a successful exercise. Both Dr. Kamara and His Excellency the President have stated repeatedly that they believe electoral reform is critical for the future of this country. Both of them have been equally clear that they believe national unity is critical for the future of this country. So with leadership like that have already taken what I think are very politically courageous steps to work together, I'm confident that we're going to see the results that we need coming out of the Electoral Review Committee.
Concerns are largely most times from the opposition. What have they been telling the U.S. Embassy with regards the work of the tripartite committee?
So I know that the opposition's concerns are very much covered in media. I will say that I have heard concerns expressed by the government as well about how progress has gone. I think the primary set of concerns that both sides have, and it's a concern of members of both sides, is that one, they're not always receiving the cooperation they need from the full range of government agencies, and two, that there are still individuals out there on both sides of the aisle who are issuing threats against the committee, against the leadership of the two parties, against the entirety of the national unity process. And that needs to stop. It's fine to disagree with whether and how we should move forward in Sierra Leone. It's not okay to put out threats against individuals.
This seems to be a concern to you. You've made mention of it twice. And do you in any way identify any set of people that are behind these threats?
So obviously that's a question for Sierra Leonean law enforcement to look into. I don't have the technical capacity to go into individual Twitter accounts and determine who the users are or who's putting them out there. But I will say that I have heard from leadership of both political parties their very grave concern about this, which is why I'm concerned about it.
Does these threats in any way have any impact on the outcome, or would have any impact on the outcome of the tripartite committee's work?
As I said, I think we have very courageous men and women working on the Electoral Review Committee. I've not seen any indication that any of them are going to allow themselves to be threatened out of moving forward with their constitutional responsibilities. So I have every confidence they'll continue their work. But this environment is very dangerous for Sierra Leone as a whole.
We are going for a short break, but quickly, when you talk to the opposition or you talk to the ruling, they have their different positions on the work of the tripartite committee. For some, there would be a rerun of the election. Is that in any way possible?
So one, the rerun of the election is something that has come up multiple times from multiple quarters in the media. The scope of work that was laid out for the Electoral Review Committee, both in the Agreement for National Unity and in the Constitution of the Committee by the President, makes no mention of a rerun of the elections. And I think it doesn't do so for a couple of reasons. First, the time frame in which the electoral results could be challenged in court has long expired. The opposition made a decision to pursue other means to resolve their disputes than through a court challenge. Under Sierra Leonean law, as I understand it, a court challenge is the only way that we could look at invalidation of the electoral results. And as I say, under your law, there are specific time frames under which that has to be undertaken, which have expired. So I don't think that that is a realistic scenario to talk about. I think what we need to be looking at, as I've said, is one, legislation, and two, accountability. I don't think talking about invalidation of results or rerun of the elections is helpful because it's not realistic.
Ambassador, please continue to stay with me. We're going for a break now.